When we think about the location of one object in comparison to another, we're thinking of the bearings. What we're looking at today is going to think about how do we get back to where we came from, and we're going to call them the reverse bearings. So if we have a look at this problem, what is the bearing of A from B? Well, we've got two dots there. First of all, what we'll need to do is connect the dots with a line. So I'm drawing A to B, and you can see I've also got a little arrowhead there just to designate which direction I'm traveling in. Now I've also noted that true north is directly straight ahead or straight up, and that's typical of all our maps. True north points straight up. So what we need to do is place the center of our protractor on dot A or point A, and then we need to orientate our zero of our protractor to face true north. Now we are reading in a clockwise direction, so that's the last little thing you might need to think about. Be careful when you're using your mathematics, because there's a variety of different scales on your protractor on your mathemat. So just make sure it is going clockwise. Now reading clockwise, we need to take a note of the bearing. Now we're starting at true north. So we're starting here and we are just reading over to here. And that's a little bit below 220 on this line here. So it looks like about 218 degrees. And we write it as 218 degrees true, because we have taken note of true north. Now, what is the reverse bearing of A from B? So how do we get back to A from B? So we need to think about the opposite. So we have got this here, and now we're thinking true north is still facing directly up, straight up here. So I've aligned my zero with true north, and I have placed the center of my protractor on point B, and now I'm going to read clockwise. I'm going to read clockwise from here to here, and that line intersects about there, and that looks like 38 degrees. So we have this way is 218 degrees true, but going back this way, 38 degrees true. And there's an important concept here, is that in a straight line there is 180 degrees, and what we're thinking about therefore is that the reverse bearing is going to be 180 degrees different to the original bearing. So reverse bearings are always 180 degrees different. So let's look at the blue one. So we're going this way, it measures 218 degrees. So the opposite is a straight line away, which is minus 38. So I noticed that this one was bigger than 180. So if I minus 180 from it, I should get it to be 38. So the important concept is that reverse bearings are 180 degrees different. Let's look at the green one. Now here's our green one. It's at 70 degrees. So if I add 180 to 70, I should get 250. So 70 plus 180 is 250, and we notice that the reverse of 70 is 250. Now let's just try one final one. So we've got here 295. Now 295, and we're going to minus 180 in that straight line. and that should give us 115. So we can just check on the protractor. Yes, there we are. So the reverse bearings, it's important to note, are 180 degrees different. Now remember, if your original bearing is on this side here, it's going to start off greater than 180. So to find the reverse, you'll need to minus. If your original bearing is on this side over here on the right hand side, it's going to be less than 180, and so you're going to need to plus. Let's now consider the bearing of D and E. Yeah, we'll have a look at these two ones. So we'll connect them with a line, and then what I'm going to do is just place a protractor on that line, and because it's a large line and a smaller protractor, I can get away with this, and it'll show me both of the bearings. So the bearing of E, from D, so that means I'm starting here because I'm saying from, and then I'm ending at here at E, so that's my finish. So the start is D, the end is E, is 159 degrees reading clockwise. So I'm starting at 0 and I'm reading from there. So that's good, 159. I can see that there. Now let's think about the reverse. So the reverse has got to be 180 degrees different. So if I look at that, so that's close to 160, and I can do that in my head. 160 and 180 is 340, and that's one less, so that's got to make that one less, so it's 339. Let's now read, is this 339? And yes, so that's our check there. So I'm starting off at 0 and I'm reading around, reading clockwise. So the reverse bearing, that is D in this case, from E. In this case, this will be the finish because that's now the reverse. And starting from E, that's going to be the start when we think about reverse bearings. Okay, now talk through another couple of examples. So, a vessel sights a lighthouse on a bearing of 55 degrees true. What is the bearing of the vessel from the lighthouse? Well, remember, it's just 180 degrees different. Now, 55 plus 180 is 235. Now, let's have a look at the next one. A sailor sights a mobile phone tower on a bearing of 185 degrees true. What is the bearing of the vessel from the lighthouse? Now, if I was going to add 180 degrees to 185, it wouldn't really make much sense, would it? So I'd get 365. So it's just better to minus 180 when your numbers are greater than 180 when you're starting off. So we just say 185, take away 180 will be 5. Noting that there are only 360 degrees in a circle. Your work now is on page 272 and it's exercise 5E.